Hey, it's Brian from XS Motorworks, and welcome back to my shop. So, it's been a little over a year since I actually posted a video, and I'll tell you why here. Basically, I actually had to take a job. So, working pretty much full-time, and I've got very little time dedicated to this project. I am still working on it. As you can see, the motor's in. If you look real close, it's actually a completely new back section to actually get this motor in, because basically I did not have enough space. Now, with that said, the goal was to actually have this H gear, standard H pattern gear shift, converted into sequential, and sequential then into pneumatic paddle shifting. Technically, that would work. However, it's going to take a ton of time to do that, and frankly, I just want to kind of make some additional progress on this. So, even though I do love the concept of a Fiat car with an Alfa motor, this isn't going to fly. I'm actually working on an idea, and hopefully the next video, if it all works out, I got to go to some pull aparts and do some measuring. I got an idea though, see if that kind of plays out. I did talk about the heating and air, and the heating and air took me a ton of time. None of the components would work. Nothing off the shelf could actually work at all. Let me pull you over there and I'll show you what I came up with. So here you have it. That's my heating and air conditioning system. It's not 100% done. I basically still need to put the distribution system onto the actual unit itself. This is the unit I kind of came up with to fit in the space that's required. I will show you that here in a second, but let me just kind of go over what I kind of mocked up, or not mocked up. This is made. This is ready to go. So the unit here consists of a blower motor. This blower motor actually is out of a Honda Civic. And basically we have the fresh air side here, and that's going to go out to the car. You can kind of see that here in a second. This is the recycle side, so this will actually just open up here and allow for the air to be recycled should I need to recycle the air. The box down here, this is where the air conditioning is actually going to live. So we do have a service door, so the air comes down through here. It's going to blow over the actual coil, so I do need to stick this thing in there still. And then once it goes through there, it's going to come up through this section here. Comes up through the bottom here. This is actually the Miata box here. This actually controls, or not controls, but this is where the heater core element lived in Miata, so I went ahead and used that. However, I did not use the Miata heater core. This is actually a heater core that says it's from a Volkswagen, kind of like a universal heater core, and I did that because the fittings go right on the edge here, and in the Miata the fittings actually carried way far forward, so and I didn't need that, and I still have to kind of work the lines, and the lines are probably going to go down really pretty quickly. So this is the this part here is a Miata though. So we've got a Honda, Miata, and VW so far, and then so now that we got air kind of going through the heat and the cold part of the system, we got to get it into the rest of the cabin if this thing ever sits by itself. Okay, so through the rest of the cabin, what I wanted, I didn't want to use the vintage air type system. I wanted to basically set the temperature like a modern car, and it would take care of itself. Either apply more heat or apply more cooling, and life would be good. To achieve that though, normally the new modern cars require CAN bus, and they require a lot of interaction with the ECU and all that kind of lovely stuff. Obviously I don't have that, or I wouldn't have had that. That might change, but we'll see. So here's what I came up with. This is actually out of a 1990, I think, somewhere around there, Alfa Romeo 164. The unit itself, this one actually came out of Europe. They were primarily in the Alfa Romeo 164 Super. In the US, we had them in the QV, I believe it was. So not very common, but it's completely standalone. They also are known to have a couple of issues, and mine was certainly the case. The one issue is this display here. Display is known to fail. They actually rely on a ribbon cable, and that ribbon cable really wasn't elementally designed to exceed the temperatures we can kind of see inside of a car. Closed up car, you can get way over 100 degrees. So the cable had failed, and I replaced that. There was actually another problem, and I had no idea that this was an issue. But it's a really big issue if you want to actually have the system work as designed, meaning it takes care of itself. And that issue was it could not read the outside air temperature correctly. The problem I ended up tracing down, it took a very long time, to actually be 2 chips on the motherboard that lives inside of this thing. I was able to find those chips. I'm not exactly sure. I could never find a schematic to what those chips did, but cross-referencing the part number, and I was able to find them off of like Alibaba's website, I believe it was. So ordered the chips. They were surface mounted, a little bit of a pain to deal with, but I got those replaced. And now we actually have outside air temperature. That's what this little guy does right here. We also have this temperature sensor here, and that actually has to live in the vent or in the plenum. And then we have a cabin air temperature as well. So basically it's a PDI setup, so where you got a target temperature and it's kind of using these different temperatures to kind of get to that target temperature. It does that by basically applying more heat. And in the original Alpha that this was kind of sourced out of, it used a door, a regular door, and it had just this basically the stepper motor, and it controlled that door, and it would allow more air to go over the heater core or less air to go over the heater core. My setup wouldn't work. There's no room for a door in there. So instead of changing the mechanism, or basically having that flapper, I opted to change the mechanism and use a water-based cutoff, basically. So this is now oscillating the amount of coolant that's going into the heater core, achieving basically the same thing as the actual old system would have. This is the distribution box out of a 164, and they're all the same. So this one was out of a 164L, I believe. So this controls, setting the air to come either defrost, to your feet, to the vents, whatever. So this all works now, which is fantastic. So gonna basically just finish fabbing this up, stick this in the car, and kind of move on to the next problem. As I was alluded to, though, I'm not happy with the amount of time this has taken. I really want to get some additional progress done. So we'll kind of decide in the next couple of weeks here how I'm going to achieve that. It does probably mean the Alpha remoter is not going to survive probably the cut, unfortunately. So before I end the video, let me go ahead and show you what this looks like in the car itself. It's pretty cool, I think. So maybe some people might find it interesting. So let me get this moved back over the car and we'll take a look. So as you can see, pretty much used up all the available space. Over here, still have to have the brakes. So that's why there's some space, a gap right there. But basically the fresh air is going to come in from around here. I think that's going to be actually a kind of a cowl induction system. Haven't really worked that part out, but I do know it's going to come in off that side right there. Then the recycle door is here. So this is gonna where they would draw in recycle air if I want recycle air. Air comes in through here, goes out through here, and ultimately into the distribution system here. And that little hole right there is where the steering column comes up. So everything does fit. And now I just got to basically finalize some of the, it still needs the actual brackets to hold it in place. It just kind of floated around right now, but I'll add some brackets and call that part done. I'm pretty excited about that. Well, that's about covers it. I've got the heating and air conditioning in, which took a stupid amount of time. It obviously did not take the complete year, but it did take a lot of time. Obviously, we manufactured these cradles a little bit, and that took some time. Elephant in the room, though, I still have not actually got this completely mounted. And again, I'm not real happy. And I'll tell you a couple other challenges besides the shifting, which is going to take just a crazy amount of time. I still have to remanufacture this cradle to finish it up to actually hold to support the transmission and the motor. Even though they're in there and they're somewhat mocked up, you can see they're kind of being held up currently right there. It's not by any stretch of the imagination in here by itself, permanently by itself. So there's also another challenge with this. Given the configuration, I still actually have to make a drive shaft support here on this side of the motor, and this motor is also going to have torque steer. So there are some kind of red flags that are really kind of popping themselves up in the back of this car. They've always been there. But before, I just felt like I had time to kind of resolve them, and now I just don't have the time to resolve them. So I want to get this thing and actually have it under its own power much sooner than later. And this current configuration is just not going to allow that to happen, I don't believe. So I'm going to go to the junkyard, see what I can come up with, and I do believe I've got an option. Don't know if it's a good option, but it's an option nonetheless, and hopefully I can get this kind of sorted out and get back to you real soon. So, hey, from me, Dead Bob, and the other guys that come around my crazy shop, thanks for watching. We'll catch you soon.